Hey, I'm going to an art museum tomorrow for a writing assignment, and I am extremely sleep deprived. It's not even funny anymore. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite albums, and today I'm going to be doing a mini albums review. So here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. Um, I am able to make a lot of YouTube videos ever since the year 2020 simply because I didn't have a life at that point. It was the pandemic. I was quarantined at my own home all day, every day. And since then, even after coming to LA, I was at a community college and I had plenty of time to do my own things. But the problem is, I am at USC now, which means that I actually have to start studying and doing things and meeting people now, which means that I barely have any time to do album reviews. So from now on, I'll be doing more and more of these videos where I just do a bunch of album reviews all in one video real quick, and I will be doing less and less full-length individual album reviews. It's a harsh reality, but it is what it is. But also, today's minis albums review video is going to be a little bit special because 4 out of the 7 albums I'll be talking about today are going to be albums that are made and produced in Asia, which is part of my attempt in promoting more indie artists from all across Asia. By all across, I mean mostly East Asia, maybe a little bit of Southeast Asia. But anyways, let's start off the review with Kid Cudi's Insano. Kid Cudi, famous, well-known rapper, has returned with the album Insano earlier this year, and this thing has 21 freaking songs and it's 64 freaking minutes long. It's too long, sir. It's too long, my man. It's bloated, and unfortunately, the songs on this album are kind of bland. There are a few moments in the album that I sorta enjoyed, like the track Get Off Me featuring Travis Scott. There's something about Travis and Cudi's chemistry that made it kinda work, and the way they trade bar after bar on top of this repetitive woozy keyboard instrumental is just kind of awesome. A Tale of a Night is pretty cool. I like the clunky synth instrumental, and the Kanye-esque shout raps is, I think, really fun. There's just something really beefy and thick about the instrumentals of this track that I really, really like. And then another track I like is Cut Life with the uncanny beats and the fun, energetic performances. A highlight for me, actually, is the track At the Party. And this track is not necessarily great in my opinion, but it features Pharrell Williams and, once again, Travis Scott. But what sort of stood out to me is Pharrell's wheezly little voice. He kind of sounds like a mini Michael Jackson, and it's hilarious. But the rest of the album just feels very basic. A lot of it is just feel good, washed out trap rap with some of the same lyrics again and again. So, not really a big fan of this album, unfortunately. Feeling a strong 4 to a light 5 out of 10. The second album I'm going to be talking about is the new Future Islands album, People Who Aren't There Anymore. Maryland synth pop band Future Islands is back with a new album, and one thing for sure is that in the 2010s they released the single Seasons. Waiting on You. Seasons change. And it's one of the prettiest, most righteous sounding, expressive, liberating synth pop anthems of the 2010s. I love the hell out of that track. Literally one of my favorite songs of the decade. So going into the album, I don't know what's gonna happen. Are they gonna do more of the same, or are they gonna change it up? Turns out they are doing more of the same. And what's special about this group is that the vocalist has this thick and raspy voice that makes his performance very unique for a synth pop outfit. One huge gripe I have with this album is that the production is just too clean and sterile and dry. But while that's that, I still really enjoy the first few tracks. King of Sweden is a feel good mid paced song that's just super catchy with its pumping drums and crispy synths. And the track The Tower is another banger with the which is a reverby, echoey pop tune. For some reason, there's something about this track that's so 90s and so 2000s. I don't know why I'm slapping myself. And there's this music video where it's kind of like filmy. But again, these tracks are great while it lasted, but as the track goes along, it gets more and more repetitive. And yeah, the lyrics are really good. They're poetic at times, but overall, it's just a little too repetitive. But still a good album nonetheless. Feeling a strong 7 out of 10. Third album, Elephant Gym World, or actually, they have a Taiwanese name. Let me just look it up right now. 大象体操. Yes. So Elephant Gym is a Taiwanese indie rock pop band. They are new, and this is their new album World, which came out at the back end of 2023. I wish I could have found out about them earlier, but it always feels good to hear new, modern, contemporary Taiwanese music that are trying new sounds. And in this case, we have crispy, clean production of math rock and pop with a lot of funky guitars, choppy drums, and laid-back poppy vocals. However, even though their sound feels very clean and interesting, it's also kind of middle of the road. I feel like the same style of music is being performed by a million Japanese bands right now, and there's nothing all that special or interesting about Elephant Gym. But there are still great highlights on this album here and there, like on the track Name. There's some great horn and piano playing that goes really well together. It's almost like jazz fusion. And then we have the tracks Galaxy and Light, orchestral version where they team up with the Kaohsiung Woodwind Orchestra, which is just really, really cool. And then yeah, one interesting thing I would like to point out is that they sing in English and Japanese all the time and not really in Mandarin. I wish they do sing in Mandarin. Singing your own language always sounds better than singing in some other language that's not your own. But not bad, not that great either. Looking forward to whatever they have to put out next. Fourth album I'm going to be talking about is the new Yonlapa album, Lingering Gloaming. So this is a band from Thailand, and I found them out through a music video. Turns out they released an album at the end of 2023, and I think in November or something, and I feel really freaking bad for not finding out earlier because this album is really not bad. It's a little bit similar to the last album I just reviewed, but it's way more colorful and interesting. This band dabbles into neo-psychedelia and dream pop as well as rock music. The track Insomnia has some nostalgic guitar strumming and psychedelic vocals, and it's just so dreamy and it's so nice. I feel like my mind is melting while I'm listening to the track. And then we have the track I'm Just Like That, which is an awesome rock song with surf core guitars. I feel like I'm surfing on the ocean. A lot of the tracks on this album sort of throw back to the 90s, especially with that shoegaze style. I spot a lot of my Bloody Valentine influences here and there. There is a bit of an issue with how a lot of the tracks just come off a little derivative, but yeah, the album ends off with Come Back to Mine, and the flutes are so beautiful. I cannot resist flutes in a song. I love the sound of a flute. So this album is certainly not bad at all, has a lot of potential, and I will be keeping an eye out on this band in the future because this music is promising stuff. 7 out of 10. Then the next album I'm going to be talking about is the new Minwhi Lee album, Hometown to Come, or I guess Minwhi. Yeah, so this is also an album released in the back end of 2023, and also I feel really, really terrible for not finding out about this album earlier, because this is truly some of the most moving, gorgeous pieces of indie folk since Aoba Ichiko. This is like Aoba Ichiko if she's Korean, because there's a Korean album, in case you haven't noticed, but with a more lo-fi sound. But just like Aoba Ichiko, there's this really beautiful elegance and sensibility to instrumentals, and the vocals come off really earnest, sometimes even cinematic, and it's honestly beautiful. Oftentimes, while listening to the album, I find myself hypnotized by the music, especially with the wobbly guitars and a melancholic bass. The vocals of Lee Minwhi sound like a jazz singer from the 1940s. It's so slow, like a lullaby, yet so expressive and beautiful. The track The Station is amazing and a perfect example of that. Also, the jazzy track that is returning. The track Penitentiary has some really nice strings and nostalgic keyboards, and and these two instruments combined and the way they swell and fluctuate just melts my ears, and it's so cinematic, it's so nice. And there are a couple of one note moments on the album, like the track Lost Land, but overall, the more I listen to this album, the more I'm like, wow, this track sounds great, that track sounds great. And really, there isn't a single dud on the album. Originally, I was going to give it a 7, but it's just so freaking impressive. It's a really impressive album. I'm giving this one a light 8 out of 10. Yeah, light to decent 8, maybe. Even though it's a 2023 album, I might as well just put it in my 2024 year-end list because it's just that good. 8 out of 10, yes. The sixth album I'm going to be talking about is new TOOBOE album, Stupid Dog. This is a Japanese J-pop, J-rock outfit, TOOBOE. This is their new album, Stupid Dog. I believe it's their debut album, and it's 55 minutes of noisy, edgy, electronic J-pop with a lot of industrial sounds, swag, charismatic vocals, funky guitars. That leads to a lot of interesting sound play and textures, and some songs are actually really good. I don't know why it's so low rated on Rate Your Music. The album opener is pretty good and charismatic, and we also have the track Denji, which is one of the EDs to the anime Chainsaw Man, and it's just really noisy but fun. It's super sweet and deranged and crazy and kooky, and I really like it. But whenever they deviate from this kooky, crazy style, their music starts to become drab and sometimes even cringe, like the track Fish, where they try to do this theatrical thing, and on some other tracks they even try to do a little electro swing, which of course didn't go really well. But still impressive because on one of the tracks on this album they collaborated with anime voice actress Kusunoki Tomori, which I think is just really cool. So yeah, feeling a light 6 out of 10. Yeah. Finally, the seventh album I'm going to be talking about is the new Rap Ferreira and Funitaki Tamura album, The First Fist to Make Contact When We Dap. So abstract rapper Rap Ferreira and Japanese hip-hop producer Tamura Funitake, or vice versa. I don't know. And by vice versa, I mean family name, given name. They're coming together for an album, and usually I don't really review too much abstract rap because I'm not that well versed. But Rap Ferreira back in 2020 did release an album that really impressed me. What sort of made me want to listen and review this album is the interesting cross-cultural musical creation that is this album. But unfortunately, this album didn't really surprise me or anything. I think a lot of the beats often feel very empty and toothless. Even if it's spacey and unconventional, doesn't mean it can be one-dimensional and repetitive. The strongest element on this album, however, is the lyrics and the delivery by Rap Ferreira. Rap Ferreira is, as always, classy and eclectic. And a couple tracks here, Begonias and Bending Corners, has some of the most interesting production on the entire album. Yeah, feeling a light 6, light to decent. Actually, you know what? Decent 6 out of 10. Yeah. So, have you listened to these albums? Comments below, let me know, subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching. I need to have dinner now. Bye bye.